Good welcome. So Andre is going to talk to us today about the what, why and how of Tableau extensions. Over to you, Andre.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Well, good morning, everyone. So Tableau users who have no developer background tend to stay away from APIs and everything related to code as much as possible. But fear not, creating and learning about Tableau's APIs is not only useful, it's also a lot of fun. My name is Andre, and in this talk of about 20 minutes, I will talk about one of Tableau's APIs, which is the Extension API. This is a fairly new API and allows you to extend Tableau's functionality with writebacks, custom charts, and much more. I'm going to explain what they are, why you should get excited about extensions, and how you can start learning about them. I'm going to do that by using examples from my own journey into extending Tableau. If there are any questions throughout the session, please put them in the Q&A box and I will answer them at the end. So first of all, as I said, my name is Andre. I work currently as a trainer and consultant at the Information Lab. You might have heard of us. We've done a few things in the community. So yeah, I'm a Tableau and Alteryx consultant, which means I either spend way too much time sitting in front of a laptop, or I'm actually training people to become better at these two tools. I'm also a teacher at our data school in London, and where I actually mainly teach about Alteryx. You can see the bike in the picture because I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I've been in the UK for quite some time now. So before we're going to dive into about my journey about learning about the Extension API, let's see what this talk is actually about. So this is very much going to be a beginner's session about Tableau extensions, of course. And it's also going to be a way to improve your understanding of Tableau extensions. This is mainly for those that have used extensions, maybe one or two, but don't really know what the background of them are. This is also going to be a call to action, but I'm going to talk about that call to action in a bit. But my main aim of this talk is actually to explain a little bit about my journey of extending Tableau. Then we also need to talk about what this talk is not about, which is, I'm not going to do like a step-by-step guide of building a Tableau extension. There are some really great Tableau conference talks about this subject. I actually also wrote a blog post about getting started with building extensions. So you could also have a go at that one. I'm also not gonna copy paste any code into a text editor. Apologies for those that actually do this during sessions. I normally don't find this that too useful when you see someone just copy paste code. Nor will I start promoting my extensions that you should buy them or anything, which is actually not possible because all of the extensions that I've built are free, open source. You can download them, you can change them, you can sell them if you want to. Yeah, so I will of course show the extensions that I've built because that's part of the extension, but I'm not here to sell anything. So let's get started. And as I said, my main aim of this talk is to share how I kind of jumped into the deep end and started learning about Tableau's APIs. So I have to say this up front, I don't have any prior background in programming before I started looking into Tableau's APIs. And Tableau Extension API was kind of the first API that I looked at in very deep, actually. At university, I did politics. In my previous job, I occasionally used Python, but that was nothing too serious beyond kind of copy pasting code from Stack Overflow. So let's get started. And the very first question that I'm posing is the what question. What are Tableau extensions? Tableau extensions are still very new into the whole Tableau community. So I thought it'd be good to start with this particular question. And for that, what we need to do is we need to jump back to TC17 in Las Vegas. You see two pictures here. The one on the top left is Ben Lauer. He's he's the head of the Tableau development team. And he's publicly announcing the extensions API here. He announced that it was going into public beta at that point. And it was actually at that conference and in the conference before that in Austin that I kind of forced myself to get outside of my, what I call the Tableau comfort zone. And then in terms of the sessions that I went to, again, apologies for those that actually do this. I don't go to a Tableau conference to learn about customer stories or industry specific talks. I want to go there and see something and learn something new. And this is why during those two conferences, I start all the sessions in the developer track. So I went into the Tableau mobile app and I basically start all of the ones in the developer track. And this gave me a few things. First of all, always a seat during the sessions, because some of those developer sessions, not everyone goes to, so you definitely have a seat. But also this was the moment that I kind of got excited about extensions and the possibilities. However, I didn't really have any knowledge on how to build one, let alone getting started with one. Okay. Now it's more than 1.5 years later, and I thought it'd be good to share some of my learnings. So to me and how I define Tableau extensions are what they call a two-way communication between a web application and your dashboard. Okay? So the Tableau extension is always in your dashboard, which has the aim to extend Tableau's functionality. And this this extending is basically kind of closing what Tableau calls closing the loop, or kind of closing the gap in Tableau's feature set. Okay. You can do things like including visualization libraries like D3, or you can create what they call write-back connections to your data source. This then allows you to update your data source. So let's go to how before Tableau extensions, we were able kind of have communication with outside. So before Tableau 2018.2, we could use the web page object in a Tableau dashboard. And what you could do with this Tableau web page object was this one-way communication between your dashboard and a URL. Okay, I demo this in every training session that I do. I just show the web page and the the URL action. However, it's just one-way communication. You can't get anything from the web page into your dashboard. This changed with inclusion of extensions in 2018.2. And now you have an extension object, which, as you can see in the rolling GIF, you can see that it brings in a file. But then at that point, you can already see that it gets access to your data source, to get access to kind of the metadata that's in your data source, but also in your dashboard, so the views, etc. This then allows you to be able to click on something in that little extension object and filter, for example, your dashboard. So like I said, it's all about kind of closing the gap and extending Tableau's feature set. A really good example of an extension is this one by my colleague and Tableau Zen Master, Craig Bloodworth. He created an extension called the image viewer. And the image viewer Craig had the idea that he saw that there was a gap in Tableau's features in terms of including images in the dashboard. We all know how difficult it is to have images in the dashboard. You could use custom shapes, for example, but the problem with custom shapes is that they're not very dynamic. So what Craig then did, he built an extension which communicates with your data source, and you can select which column in your data source contains the images. Okay. So this then allows, if your data source updates with new images, that they are automatically being added to the view. So that's a great way of kind of closing this gap. So how is a normal extension set up? And you've heard me talk about a web application as well. So web applications are built up to 3 following things: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML, hypertext markup language, is all about the building blocks of your application, of your extension. CSS is cascading style sheets, which is, you could compare it with the Tableau formatting window, although with CSS you have a few more options than in Tableau, and JavaScript. And this is kind of the core language that you need. Well, this is the only language that you use when communicating with the Extensions API. So you have these three languages, and they together form a web application. That web application then needs to be hosted somewhere. And this normally is hosted on a server. When you develop your extension, normally this takes place on what they call local host. So that's on your own computer. But then if you start deploying this and want to go to, want to share this with the community, you tend to use web services. And three of those I've just listed out are Netlify, GitHub, and Site. Those are the three that I tend to use. These are very easy to use. It's just all drag and drop. You don't need to code anything in this case. Those are great. So once you have your server up and running, you need to have a Tableau manifest file. And this is what they call the T-Rex file. And this T-Rex file contains the location of where your extension is being hosted. So this manifest file is the most important one. If you go into Tableau Extensions Gallery, you will also download this T-Rex file. But now the next question, which is why should you be interested and why should you get excited about Tableau Extensions? So within the Tableau community, we always creating content, right? If these are like blog posts, like I think literally everyone in the Tableau community has a blog post, or has a blog website, sorry. We're building dashboards. Tableau Public gets new dashboards every single day. People make videos. Everyone knows Andy Kriebel's Tableau Tip Tuesday, for example. The Tableau prepping team even gets excited about data sources and building data sources. So my question is kind of, why shouldn't we as a community also adopt extensions? Extensions also really fit into the whole Tableau ecosystem, I think. But moreover, there are a few other things. Like I mentioned, it's a lot of fun. In the beginning of creating extensions, if you're completely new, it's very frustrating. There's a very steep learning curve. But once you're in this space, it's fun. And you can really express creativity in your extensions. You're also learning a lot of new skills. These are like the transferable skills. Also, I've learned so much while building extensions, not only about web applications, but also about Tableau and how to work with Tableau. Moreover, you really extend the product. Okay? A really good example is an extension built by Keisha Rose. She's in the Tableau development team as well. And she built an extension called the dynamic parameters. And dynamic parameters are probably #1 in the ID forum in Tableau in the community. And she kind of extended the product by creating this dynamic parameters extension. This then is later on, I think I've seen some versions of Tableau that are already using dynamic parameters as a core feature rather than an extension. However, and this is my call to action, extensions are not on Tableau Public yet. And I think we actually need the community to make Tableau extensions bigger. As I mentioned on the slide, it's a huge showstopper for seeing the real potential of the Extensions API. Tableau Public is always used by Tableau. It's kind of this playground for trying out new features. So I'm really kind of call to action to start including Tableau Extensions in Tableau Public. I put a yet after my sad emoticon because I know the Tableau development team is looking into including extensions, so we might see this in the future. I'm actually not the only one who thinks this. Chris DeMartini, also Tableau Zen Master, and he's part of the Tableau of the Datablick team. He wrote a blog post just after the Tableau conference where he did a talk with Tamas Foldy on Tableau extensions. And he also said, besides listing out the pros and the cons of Tableau extensions, that in order to make this become a bigger part of the Tableau ecosystem, to include it with Tableau Public. Okay? So now we get to the third one. And the third one is kind of the third question is, how can you get started with Tableau extensions? And I just want to share some of my learnings, how I jumped in. Well, yeah, I kind of jumped in, like I said. I had no prior background in programming. So for me, it was very much of a steep learning curve. And I think for many people it will be, but this shouldn't scare you. I started out very basic with this was the first extension I built. This took me quite some time to build actually, because I need to learn quite a lot. No corporation in the world will ever use this extension because this is the Giphy extension. You can click on a mark here in our favorite EU Superstore data set, and it starts updating the extension window. So you can see there is this two-way communication between the dashboard and the extension. This was built in one of the very early betas of the extension API. I then moved on a little bit. I started looking into the API a little bit more. And this is also what you should do. Just read the documents, read the documentation, go to the GitHub page. And I started looking into, there's the method to refresh your data source. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe you could give the user the option to key in how often they want the data source to be refreshed. This is an example. I did no styling here at all, so it looks absolutely horrendous. But you can start refreshing your data source, in this case, every 3 seconds. Like, who wouldn't want that? Then I moved on a little bit and I saw some other kind of gaps in Tableau's features. This is the write back to Microsoft SQL extension. Like I said, all of my extensions are open source, so please just go to GitHub, download this thing, make it better as well. I know there's some bugs in it. What you can do here is you can connect to any of your Microsoft SQL data tables and you can start writing back to your data source. This was also demoed, this extension was demoed at the TC Europe last summer. But really when I started going deep into the extension API was also during the Tableau conference in New Orleans. So I went to the Tableau hackathon, and the Tableau hackathon was on a Monday, it was a full day. And in there I built an extension, which I actually started building 8 months before. And that was the Run Alteryx and Tableau extension. So for users that are using both Alteryx and Tableau, you know that you need to run Alteryx and go into Tableau, hit refresh. But now with this extension, you don't have to do that. Again, this extension is free for you to download. Please pick it apart. Give me some suggestions what I could improve. But this was kind of the, if I think back about my journey about extending Tableau, then this extension is very much the one that's kind of brought everything together. So the next one is the how question is also about how can you learn the most effective, because I'm showing you some extensions, but how can you learn a bit better, and how can you learn about these web applications and extensions? So to me, it's kind of a few questions you need to ask yourself. First of all, you really need to immerse yourself into the whole kind of the web application, the web development environment. And I did that by, first of all, discovering my best way of learning. And this is also what you need to question yourself, if videos, books, blogs, meetups are good places for you to learn. So I'm very good with videos. I like seeing other people writing code. Udemy courses are really good. Also meetups. So in the Tableau community, you had some, here in London, we had the Data and Women, of the Women in Data meetup that also talked about Tableau's APIs, including extensions. Be a stalker on social media. One tip, don't tweet a lot, just follow the right people. And also another one is become a teacher. I've been teaching Tableau and Alteryx for about 3 years now, and it definitely helps you with learning about how other people think, and that you can then apply in your own learnings and start immersing yourself. So some of the resources to learn more about Tableau extensions is very much, first go to the extensions gallery, which is where Tableau hosts all of the extensions. The Information Lab has a few here. The guys at Infotopics built some really great ones to include D3. So definitely check those out as well. And this is where your first stop should be if you want to download extensions. On GitHub, you have a tutorial about creating extensions. This is a very good step-by-step approach. It starts with setting up a server, all the way down to the individual parts of the extension and actually deploying it. One last resource that I want to show you is a blog post that I wrote, I think, yeah, it was somewhere last year, about building your first Tableau extension. The link is in the slide notes as well. You can see this goes into kind of step 1, step 2, etc. So it's a quick walkthrough of how to build an extension. With that, I want to thank everyone for listening. If you want the slides, please go to the link that's displayed here. If you want to reach out, my social media has been on every slide. And I'll now take any questions.
That was great. Thanks, Andre. It doesn't look like we have many or any questions. So one final chance. Does anyone have any questions for Andre? Nope. I have just one little bone to pick with Andre. It's not just Andy that does Tableau Tip Tuesday anymore.
I know. Sorry.
God. Okay. Tableau Tip Tuesday, just in case anyone else is unaware of that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're reconvening at 10:40 with Chris Curtis. So we've got about a 10-minute break. Oh, there's just one question here from Simon Sturgis.
What is it?
Are there any security concerns with using extensions on the Tableau server?
You can, on the server itself, you can whitelist extensions. So the Tableau team is really looking into, the development team is looking into making things a lot more secure. I think this question came after Paul Manoop wrote a blog post about security. And Tableau extension team is really looking into kind of the security aspect. Keep in mind that all the extensions in the Tableau extension gallery are built by Tableau partners who will never start harvesting your data. So you shouldn't worry about that.
Okay, and then there's one more from Florentina. What's the easiest way to start learning Tableau extensions? Apologies if I missed this.
The easiest is actually, let me go a few slides back, to go to this page, github.com/Tableau/extensions API. It's a great tutorial, really helped me with learning about them.
Perfect, thanks Andre. So we'll be in 10:40 for Chris Curtis.